So, shall we kick off at the only place we can kick off this week, and that is Dune. Now,
Dune.
Shaun, if you're watching this thing, or if you're watching one of the clips of this on YouTube, you will see that Shaun currently has a background of a film that in his background he has a film that was heavily influenced by Dune. You could even say it kind of ripped it off a bit. But Dune is Frank Herbert's novel that was written in, what was it, the 60s?
Yeah, 60s, I think.
Yeah,
Or maybe,
yeah.
might have even been
Might have been earlier than that.
50s,
Yeah.
maybe, late 50s.
Yeah. So Frank, he wrote this novel, and this novel has long been called unfilmable because it's 600 pages long, or 26 hours if you listen to the audiobook, and and people have just sort of said this thing is not filmable. But there've been loads of people who have taken different bits from this film and made their whole new empires, a bit like George Lucas and Star Wars. Now, probably the biggest Dune fan I know is a friend of the show, a guy called Yatish Palmer, and he is the one who gave me the audiobook. He gifted me the audiobook. And if you ever hear him talk about Star Wars, he is so disparaging about Star Wars because he's like, all they did was rip Dune off. They just ripped off all of Frank Herbert's ideas and then made them worse. Is what he says. So now, I'm a bit reticent to give a synopsis of this film because even giving a synopsis of this film, you will probably be here an hour, and and you will just be, and a lot of people who haven't read the book or know anything about Dune will spend a lot of time saying, who, what, quits that, what, what the heck's a Harkonnen, and all that. But
1965. I'm sorry, I couldn't get over that. I need to find out. So it was first published in 65.
Oh, in
Right,
1965. Okay, I had my money on 67. So yeah, so essentially, if you've watched a sci-fi movie ever since 1965, there's been a lot of stuff that has been influenced by Dune. But Sharon, because you are probably the most succinct of us, would you like to try and give? I'll give you like a 2 minutes. Give you 2 minutes to give us a summary of what Dune is about for anybody who doesn't know and wonders what all the fuss is about.
This is set in a universe that is approximately 8,000 years ahead of us. So in the years 10,000 and something or other. And there is a universe that is governed by an emperor. Some ideas there. And all the different planets have like a ruling family. And the ruling family of a planet called Caladan are the Atreides. Yes. And they have like dragged themselves up, and they are a safe pair of hands. They're fighting people. They're like disciplined and fighting, but they are effectively sort of honest. And there is a planet called Arrakis that has a thing called spice, the spice melange. And this can be used as a fuel that powers interstellar travel, because to travel between stars, to navigate between the stars is quite a tricky business, but the spice enables these creatures that navigate the stars able to slow time down so they can see a pathway through the stars. So you can travel at speed because you can see where all the obstacles are. So this spice has become the petroleum of the future worlds, because it's essential. It is what fuels the economies, and it's what fuels travel. And if you can travel, then you can conquer worlds. Then you can be the dominant force in a world.
So whoever controls the spice controls everything, pretty much.
Controls everything. They are a key player. And for 80 years, the emperor has put the Harkonnens, which are this sort of like brutish, aggressive, not very nice people. They have been in charge of this planet, mining the spice. I think the Empire. They're nasty. They're like boohists. And so they're all ugly and they're all not very nice. Whereas all the Atreides are slightly, they're more attractive and they're a bit nice. And so the people, the people who inhabit the planet of Arrakis are called the Fremen, and they are a desert peoples who have basically, they live in harmony with their environment. So they use the spice, but not in a way that exploits their environment.
Okay.
And they know that on this spice, this dust planet.
No, sorry, Sharon. I was just going to say, I think your 2 minutes are up, and I think thank you very much for trying that, because what you have illustrated very clearly is how hard it is to give a synopsis of Dune. because what Sharon has just done has just begun to scratch the surface of what is going on in this. So what you need to know is that it's a
and
book.
She did it so well as well.
You did it brilliantly, but it's still pretty difficult. So before I started reading the book, Sorry,
break it down.
Sean.
Yeah, I was talking to our friend Happy John, and today I went into town with Happy John, and Happy John told me that they've greenlit the second part.
Yes,
So,
today they greenlit Dune Part 2 because
Today.
the film. That's another thing about it. This book is so big, so massive, so expansive that the director Denis Villeneuve very wisely said there is no way in hell you can make one film out of this. So the film right at the beginning tells you this is Dune Part 1, but but know that a lot of the things that you like in sci-fi have been inspired by this. So Sharon started speaking, and already, obviously, you started talking about empires and an emperor. That's where Star Wars got that from. You started talking about the House Atreides, who are upstanding and they're the guys who you obviously root for. That is House Stark. That's Game of Thrones. That's where they got that from.
Yeah.
And it's so there's that. So just know that. So we're gonna try and talk about the film and talk about what we thought about it, without really telling you what it's about, because we'll be here all evening. So let's kick off. Shaun, what did you think?
Okay, my thoughts on it. Yeah, I thought it was all right. I didn't think there was anything particularly nice. It was very, very pretty. It was very, very nicely shot. I think perhaps they spent a bit too much time on the, on the scenery, and it was very, what's the word? Just, I don't know. It's pretty. It's not a lot. I mean, there's not. I don't think there's a lot of action in the book, and I guess it explained it fairly well. Because going back to the David Lynch version, I mean, that was very much hurried. They sort of crammed everything in there. So it's a little bit better from that point of view. But I still think, I thought, okay, yes, this is nice. Yep, it's really lovely. It's really lovely. But I think there were too many buzzy things all the time. And it was just like, there was too much time on the buzzy little butterfly or things. I mean, very clever. And there's like that in the book. And that's how explained. But
you mean the thopters? The
coptery type things. Yeah, they're like they're little dragonflies, aren't they? They're all like little dragonflies. There was a lot of that and a lot of lovely scenery. But I wasn't too. If I'm totally honest, I preferred the Harkonnens, the Baron and all that. I preferred them in the David Lynch version than I did this version.
Okay, cool.
I even So
I thought you were going to tell me that you were rooting for the Harkonnens. I was like,
no, I wasn't rooting for them, but I thought I didn't find them that menacing and that cruel, really. Okay. I know it's sort of So for me, my feelings, it was an okay film. I didn't dislike it. It didn't wow me in any way, shape, or form. Nothing that I'd really seen before. So it was in my opinion, it was an okay watch.
Okay, Sharon, what do you think?
Want me to carry on? I can carry on some more if you want.
No. Let's go to Sharon. Let's go to what Sharon thought.
I haven't read the book, so I'll say that up front. But I liked it, and I liked the fact that it had a literary feel. Because when I was watching it, I was just, part of my mind sort of struck me as that it's quite nice to actually watch a film that has a beginning, a middle, and an end, even though it's the first part of a much longer story. Because so often when you get literary adaptations now, they like to jump it back. So you get a bit of the end, then you get a bit of the middle, then you may get the beginning, and then you may go back to the end again. And it's always chopping backwards and forwards. It's like sometimes you just want it to be a beginning, middle, and end. And they set the film up the way you would in a book. You get that slow build, and then you get these points of sort of drama, but you end up the books will normally all start and then it will build, and then you have like a peak in the middle and then it drops off towards the end. And so I felt this was like that build up towards the middle part, like any trilogy or whatever. So to me, I quite like the literary feel of it, that it felt like it was the unfolding of a story. It was giving you a lot of information to understand what your place in this universe, and then to focus in on the characters, and then you can then expand those characters. So for me, I quite like that aspect of it and that world building. So you did get a feel of that, the hot dusty sand and all that. So for me, I liked it.
Okay, so Sharon, it's funny you say that, because having read the book, because I've pretty much gotten to the point in the book where the film ends. I've pretty much got that. They do a lot of chopping and changing and shoving things around and moving things, because but the fact that it still feels like a book is I think as an adaptation of the book, I'm not sure how much better you could have done. I'm not sure how much better you could have done if you're going to make it into a film, quite frankly, because I was watching it and when I was watching at the beginning, I felt a similar thing to what I was watching when I watched Lord of the Rings for the first time. And having read the book, you're going, oh my god, oh wow, they got that right. Oh look, they got that detail right. Oh, they got that. However, the problem with this is, I think like the thought that I've distilled it down to my head is that the story of Dune deserves a TV series. It deserves a high budget TV series like Game of Thrones. The story of Dune deserves that. However, the visuals of Dune deserve the biggest screen that you could have and you can find. So you can't have a TV series on a massive cinema screen. You can't have a TV series on an IMAX screen. So you have to make a film, because it would be a bit of a shame if you just had this on TV. But there is so much, even though they got a lot of stuff into the film, there is so much that they left out. And watching the film, I was kind of like going, I'm not really sure how much of these characters and the motivations you're understanding, because they haven't really gone into why they are doing what they're doing or who they are, because the book is written in such a way that when I was reading, I remember writing a text to Yatish and telling him about one of the characters and saying, this guy's a dumbass. And Yatish was like, man, you're getting way too into it. And I'm like, yeah, but that's the thing. The book is written so well that it gets you to know these characters. And like, you know about the Atreides and you know about their honor. So when stuff happens, you care about what happens to them, and all the characters are fleshed out. And in a 2.5-hour film, there is no time to do that. So their characters, like the character of Lady Jessica, played by Rebecca Ferguson, she's a badass. And the first couple of times she showed up on film, I was kind of like, they need to give her something badass to do soon, because anybody watching this film would think that she's just a simpering wimp, the way it was done. And like Paul Atreides, the guy who is the main guy in the character in the son, who the whole story comes to sort of revolve around. I get to a point where I'm kind of like, at the moment, he just looks like a whiny brat. He looks like a whiny brat, and without the background, the performance of Timothée Chalamet looks weird. And there were bits of it where I was like, if you understand what's going on behind the scene, that works. But if you don't understand it, which the film hasn't been able to tell you, it doesn't. I don't really think he looks like a whiny brat. So and the film finishes, and at the end of the film, I think you're left with a real sense of, okay, they haven't even told me anything. Where's the rest of it? you're left with a real sense of where's the rest of it, and I'm happy that they're going to make a second one. I just feel like maybe there's not enough time to. Essentially, I think that Lord of the Rings style, there's a 5-hour cut of this film somewhere, because because there's a lot of actors, a lot of well-known actors that are in this film that are hardly in the film. And I'm like, there is no way you paid them their fee to get them in, to have them in a film for 5 minutes, even if it's part one. I'm pretty sure that there's a 5-hour cut of this that they said we couldn't put in cinemas, because there is so much more rich. And I'm going to be one of those idiots that says, yeah, there's so much more richness in the book. Of course, there's more richness in the book. I think it's the same problem you have of when you're trying to make a Terry Pratchett adaptation. So much of the stuff happens in the characters' heads, and the motivations are explained, and why this person does that. And it's you can't do that without having a talky scene in the film. And the film has some talky scenes, and there still isn't enough. Having said that, I keep thinking about the film, and things keep coming back to my head. So I will give it a 4, but it is but I think that
qualified.
Might be it's a qualified 4. Because I think I've read the bit of the book that this film is based on. Things make more sense to me. But I was watching the film thinking, I really, really worry that anybody who hasn't read the book and doesn't have any background will not really understand what's going on, or will not be carried along with these characters the way I was carried along when I was reading the book. And it made me just reinforce my idea that I think ideally this should have been a TV series. But I think as a film, a 2.5-hour film, I think they did the best that they could do. And that's why I'm going to stop talking, because we can keep talking for ages. I'm going to stop talking there.
Cool. Right. Well, I'll just give it a 3-star for me. It's just a 3-star for me. It didn't blow me away. It didn't set my pulse rate in any way, shape or form, but it was okay. So it's a 3 for me.
Yeah, I'd give it a 4, because I'm looking forward to the next bit. I would like to carry on with that journey, and it made me think, of reading the book that I do dither in and out of reading it, because it's quite a big commitment to
It's
start.
it's a
You've got
long, it's a long ass
5,000
book.
pages ahead of you, and so so I liked it, so I'd give that a 4.
Okay, cool.
I'm wanting a bit more.
So a 443. All right, and now we go over to Netflix, and Netflix we have Sharon. Sharon, you saw Wild Mountain.